Well, it's a rather brisk Boxing Day morning. 2 days of sitting inside, eating lots of food, and I've had some maggots and pinkies and some worms actually that have been in the fridge. So a couple of days I'll go away on holiday. Very exciting news with that coming up. But I thought I'd come down to my little ponds, which I won't have for much longer because I've actually sold them. But I thought, well, I ought to make a video on here before they go. Long story on that one, but yeah, business. They are part of the business that I sold. So yeah, maybe I'll do a video on fishery ownership at some point. But yeah, had a walk around, just finishing a lap. Had to scrape the van. So I think the first pond, which has got quite a lot of skimmers in it, eyed, perch, roach, rudd, and unfortunately carp. It might be too cold for them, but yeah, we'll see. I think chosen peg is going to be down there. We call that suicide because of the trough, because if you hook a carp in there, that's the first place it goes is straight under that trough. But the bay, sort of over the far side there, does get the sun. When the sun comes up behind us, it does get the sun, and there's a bit of a shelf there. It does seem to draw in the fish. They do seem to like it over there. So our plan of attack, I think, given the fact it's like 2.5–3 degrees, fluoro pink is on the pole, seems to fish quite well on here. I've got a few red maggots, and then I think probably a bomb over towards the bay there once the sun gets on it. So yeah, we'll get the kit out and give it a go. So it's been a tough start. First put in, float shot under, and I thought, hey, I missed it. Oh, this could be quite promising. And then never had another bite for 2 hours, and I was debating whether to set the cameras up, and then started to get bites about half an hour ago. I've had a bream and a carp, so there's obviously a few fish around. So I thought, you know what, let's see if we can get some on camera. So at the moment I'm just fishing short pole. So along this edge here is a deeper channel, it's probably from about 2 meters out, about a third of the way across, and it starts to shallow up towards the far side. So fed a line there just over to the block. I call it the block. So where that big panel is sticking up is a concrete block which that trough sits on. And then I've just set up a bomb rod with a wafter. And what I tend to do is, if I see any fish topping, I tend to throw that to them, and just see if I can sort of pick one up. But so far, just had a carp short here. I missed a couple of bites, and I've had a bream on the wafter. So yeah, but I just wanted to get a bit of interest here. So I thought, well, sorry, we'll get the camera set up. So here we go. Let's see what we can get on camera on Boxing Day. Coffee is an absolute must. But oh, it is cold. I think it was 2 degrees when I arrived. I don't think it's warmed up much. Maybe 5, possibly 6. But as I mentioned earlier, this is my fishery, although not for much longer, but that's a different story. So just a couple of ponds, about 1/4 of an acre each. The one we're on now, plenty of carp, bream, roach, eye, perch, gudgeon, a few chub, a few rudd as well I think, and then the ponds next door, which is by argument my favourite, has got tench, crusions, rudd, or fide, a few ruff, a few eels. Yeah, I think that's about it. So yeah, that in this kind of weather is definitely worth giving a miss. Although you can get the ide going in there, is quite productive, and the ide seems to do a lot better over there than they do over here. It seems to be bigger and seems to feed more prolifically during the winter. But yeah, but this has a lot more fish in it, and a lot more silvers that are probably willing to feed. Although the first fish was a carp. So yeah, we shall see. Starting to feel it in my feet a little bit. The sun's been over there for about 40 minutes now on that bay, so it's one of the reasons I set the bomb rod up, just to start to explore that as it starts to warm up. Did have a bream just down the side there, but yeah, just experimenting, 'cause normally in the winter I'd just fish pinkies on here, pinkies and maggots, and occasionally all after, or even a single grain of corn. On the slightly milder days it is cold. But I've actually put some pellets in, some micros in, as a last ditch effort to try and get a bite, and I put some micros in, and it seems to have brought a few bites. So yeah, it's don't know, it even works in the middle of the winter. Here we go. What's this? I would say it's a bream. Oh, wait, dog, isn't it? Yeah, skim up. I was just about to top up with some pellets then. Yeah, just about to top up with some pellets, and away it went. You can tell we're not moving around a lot because they're covered in fish lice. So, no, they. Find my towel now. I've had one down on the pole. Managed to knock the first one without touching it in the net, but that one I did grab. Yeah, this is where your hands start to get really cold now. Single red, that one. I was just about to chop up with a few pellets. They do seem to like me. So just a pinch just proves that fish do love micro pellets. I mean, they're just 2mm, 2.3mm micros. Oh, it is cold though. Yeah, when I got here, float went literally first put in. I missed it. I was like, oh, okay. And nothing happened for 2 hours. Didn't feed a lot because again, you are sort of start off with a feel your way in, and then really fish about, and in the peg, and just sort of feed for one fish. And then when you start to get a bit more confidence, there's a few around, particularly with bream. 2 or 3 of them bream in a little pack, or even a bigger shoal. They're going to clear up a little bit fairly quickly. So what you don't want to do is wallop loads in, because they're not ravenous, certainly. But after the boredom that is Christmas, well, for me anyway, I swear I've put on like 2 kilos and eaten more in the last 2 days than I have probably the last week. Time to get out. It's not fast and furious, but we can catch a few. I'm sure we can. First bite came from off the block there. That's normally fairly productive because there's, particularly on maggot, there's always some perch, just roach tend to hang around that sort of structure. But didn't do anything at all. But I just fed sort of pinkies. Very little in the way of indications. So I've literally just put some pellets out there just before I started filming. I'm just let that settle, and I've kind of fed quite a bit. I'm trying to bring it in, bring fish in, or get them feeding down there, and then I'll drop a bait in over there and see. I'm glad of my thick socks I got for Christmas. Definitely feeling the benefit of them today. It's been fairly mild in the run up to Christmas, and then last night the temperature dropped away. Definitely a good frost last night. Scraped the van. It was sort of 2 degrees driving down here. I don't think it's come up much more than another 2-3 degrees as it is. Not been a lot of fish moving. There was a little sort of carp, I think, just over the far side, topped about an hour after I'd been here. And then what made me set up this short line was there's a bream rolled pretty much where I've been fishing, and I had a bream and a carp off it. So yeah, but not huge amounts going on. Definitely a waiting game in December, being worse in January. It's not a true commercial in the sense of the word. It's only a little pond, so in terms of carp, not huge amounts in it. Although I did manage, I think it was about £82 back at the beginning of September, a bit further down, and having sort of had these for 10 years, that's by far the biggest weight. something was definitely in my favour. But yeah, there are plenty of carp in, lots of smaller ones, sort of 8, 12 ounce, quite a few, sort of 3 to sort of £7, but it's not like a commercial where it's 5 foot of water and 4.5 foot of fish. It's quite a good head of skimmers, which are self-populated from a very small introduction originally. There's a few roach, a few eyed, perch, which seem to stay small in here, to be honest. And then there's a few chub, little chub that have made their way in because it is connected. There's a water feed in which does connect to the brook further up, and there are some chub in the brook which is probably 60 yards, 70 yards behind me. So yeah, and the old road gudgeon as well. Get them every now and again. So yeah, but the bream and the carp are the most prolific. So yeah, it's not sort of a commercial venue. It's run as a small syndicate, which is about nine members, including myself. And was part of my aquatics business before I shut up shop in September of this year. Just every now and again, just some lifting and dropping, just to move it a bit. I think can produce a bite just to that movement. But 26th of December, a few degrees above zero, and we've not blanked. It's good news. That's the robins down there. Or the bailiff, as we call him. Always got to pay the bailiff. A few maggots. If you get up to go for a pee or anything, he's in. He'll be in the side tray. This is kind of the colour it is normally in the summer. I think it does go a bit clearer than this in the winter. I think it's just the last dregs of colour from the storm water going in. Nope. What we'll do is have a half hour on the bomb. See if we can snag something there. Let's see. Ooh. Right, here we go. I think I said banded wafter earlier. It's a banded pop-up, so I've just got a little shot to 2 inches. It's only a tiny little 7 gram bomb. I'm just going to have a cheeky drop in just off the trough here, because it does sometimes produce, because it's a very popular corner for them in the summer because of the trees. And we're in straight away. Unbelievable. Would you Adam and Eve it? It's a tiny little carp. He's absolutely mullered that. Would you believe it? I was trying to open the tips like doing this. What's going on? So the answer is, yeah. Look at him. Unbelievable. Little common. Don't even think he's half a pound. Well, you couldn't make that up. I felt like that tip's moving. See it, like right, almost vibrating. Let's see. So yeah, we can do that again. It must have took it on the drop practically. As I say, they just off that Oh, tickled me that has. Don't think I've ever had one take it like that in the winter. I've had it in the summer, you know, when you're on a method feeder, particularly like this peg and the next peg along casting into the bay, you know, you'll be sort of sinking the line and you'll just feel that it, you know, someone's picked it up and it's usually a bigger carp. But I mean, that was I don't know, 6 ounces maybe, a little common. But yeah, it's a cool little thing. Just had another indication there already. Little cover, so that metal beam is like it's like a trough, so it actually goes down about 12 or so inches under the water, and then they can get underneath it and swim around the back. But it's structured above the head, and in the summer it's pretty productive because they do sit just underneath it. You can always, like when you walk on the bank over there between the two ponds, you can see them all sat underneath it. It's got a good depth under it. It's like sort of 4.5 feet underneath. So yeah, they do kind of like sort of cruising under there. Oof. Little twitch, not like a line up. So they're obviously there, grouped up. Now one relatively sort of heavy gear here, because the other side of that trough, it is quite snaggy, there's twigs and what have you, and in the middle is a solid concrete block that comes from the bottom that supports it. So they will try and get around the back. So this is one of the reasons we call this suicide peg, because it can be a bit like that, particularly in the summer. Getting fish out of it is an absolute nightmare, because, you know, as soon as the bait's gone, they're underneath it. So there are some tricks you can try to get them out, but it can be soul destroying, this peg. I say particularly in the summer if you're fishing up against it, because they just drag you under there. You know, 5, 6, 7 pound carp will hit it fairly hard and just take you into the back. We might get another couple or so. Seems there's a few about. I do like them banded pop-ups though. They're like a dumbbell shape. They band really well. I just like to pop them up and literally put a shot just a couple of inches from the hook, just to pop them up off the bottom. And it just seemed to pick a few fish up in winter. It's visible. I've got to put a yellow on, but I mean there's various other colours: orange, pink, and black. Black I've never done particularly well with, but I know the carp guys, like if they were fishing the zig rig, swear by black. But pink I've done okay on. Orange I've never managed to get on with personally. But yellow seems to be my favourite colour, and again, I guess it's a kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, really. That, you know, yellows are the ones I fish the most, but I do catch more on yellow. I think if I put as much effort into pink or orange, I could potentially sort of convince myself otherwise. But back in the day when I used to do a bit of carp fishing, like proper carp fishing, you know, boilies and, you know, bite alarms and pods and what have you. In the winter, you know, an orange boil was kind of my go-to. I won't tell you what flavour it was because it's trade secret, but yeah, orange bottom baits. But then again, you know, pink pop-ups did quite well, as did sort of pineapple yellow. But certainly my favourite was a fruit-based orange bottom bait. It smells so nice as well. So I've got like a 1 ounce tip, a sort of £6 main line, £5 hook length, purely because of where I'm fishing. I was fishing one of the other pegs out in the open, I might be on sort of 3, maybe £4 hook length. I say banded pop up. And there's little inquiries every now and again. 30 plus years ago, when I started fishing, carp were just considered impossible to catch in the winter. I mean, there weren't the number of commercials around then. I think Makin's was probably just open, but there weren't many sort of commercial carp waters. There were a few in the rivers and the canals, but they certainly weren't hugely widespread like they are now. Yeah, it just didn't fish from in the winter. This was considered impossible to catch. And then you suddenly quite quickly, when I was realising on the River Soar, actually, growing up fishing the Soar around Loughborough, we were catching carp when we were in the winter, when we were fishing for chub, catching them on flake and cheese and what have you. So yeah. So now, I mean, a few degrees above zero, and we're still catching carp, albeit little ones. The thing I like about these little pop-ups is the bream seems to take them as well. It does seem to pick out the bigger bream as well, or bigger skimmers. I think they only go to about £3 in here. Not massive bream, but it can pick out those sort of £2, £2.5 fish. Whereas I think if it was on sort of maggot or pellet, you pick up them sort of £1/2 skimmers quite regular. Let's go. Back on the long pole, I think. Double red. I'm not trying to double maggot yet. It's quite tricky to pole fish here because the seed bank's behind. Give you a pot, so see if we can do this without spilling everything. Here we go. Well, it's produced more. We've got a bream and a branch. What the hell's going on today? It's oh, look, the branch has come off, but I still want to bream. There we go. He's ooh, don't even have to touch him. Yep. Got a lot of fish lice on him. Either way, don't always see that so much this time of year, but it's been a very mild to start. Oh, sorry, end of the year, really. I think the parasites are a bit more active. Normally they die off, and then we don't really see them until sort of the beginning of summer. And the fish are a lot more active, so knock a lot of them off in the summer as well. So, yeah. Get to the chopper. What film's that from, eh? Oh, here we go. Bream. Looks like a slightly better one. Slightly better. There we go. Doesn't seem to have any fish lice on him, that one. So single maggot again. Clear the slime off. So yeah, 2 carp, 5 bream. That's not it's not too bad for, let's say, this time in December. Fish topping, still fish topping. I've never known them top like this in December. Oh. Oh. That was a bream. Oh. That was a bream. They are them funny jumping bream on here. I've had one do it, the first one I had this morning, on the bomb, did that, jumped. They do spook off like that. So bizarre. There's a few venues that they do it, but the only one I know of is here. They kind of just have that first run and they take to the air. But that might have just spooked them now. Over the last 20 minutes, just on the bomb here. Because I'm getting cold now. And yeah, I think it's that time of day where we need to think about calling it. So, as is often the way, we'll start packing stuff down while we see if we can snag one on the bomb. Oh, a little twitch then. And we got 9 minutes. I'm going to leave that for the full 9 minutes. Well, I still had to fish till 3. Got 1 more minute, and then we'll call it a day. The sun is very much below the trees over there. It is pretty cold. It's the end of December. We've got like 7, maybe 8 weeks of cold weather. Mid-March it really starts picking up, so yeah, it's we're definitely into slow time in terms of catching fish. As I've already mentioned, I'm away in a few days, and I'll be recording some content over there. I'm not going to tell you where I'm going. You have to wait for the videos. When we get back, I think we'll definitely be into some more serious piking. Oh, hey, do you know what? He's done it. Unbelievable! Unbelievable! He's actually got one. You could not make that up. It's a carp. Unflipping believable. You could not make that up. I've just got to get out now. Where is he? Well, I never. A little comment. I was just oh dear. Do you know what? These cameras don't half bring me some luck. I have never been this spawny since I've been doing this. He's not quite ready. He's a rough looking one though. He's been just in the bottom lip. Ooh, that'll do. That's the last one for sure. Not a big fish. Not a big fish, but oh no, just in the bottom lip there. I don't know, maybe a 3 pound fish, but last ditch. Getting back, go home and have some turkey sandwiches. Happy days.
So, how much did this trip cost us on Boxing Day? Well, as it happens, I'd got all the baits already in the fridge, so just a mileage cost. So the total cost was £3.60, which again is just fuel, insurance, etc. So calculated at basically 45 pence per mile. So cheap cost, and we caught a few. Happy days.